The FCC has long been regarded as the group that monitors the smut levels on network TV, and not on this one, obviously, and fines Janet Jackson for her boob slips. But this week, they've proposed new rules about net neutrality, and they actually benefit you. We're going to explain it right now in The Loop. Until now, net neutrality has been a principle for broadband networks. Proposing internet service providers offer services free of restrictions that would halt or hinder traffic. If you pay for a certain level of internet access, you and everyone else with your plan should be entitled to the same quality of service. But now, in what's being called a bold move, FCC Chairman Julius Genachowski has laid out a plan to turn the principles of net neutrality into law. What's more, Genachowski introduced new rules which would expand the reach of net neutrality into the mobile arena, broadening its coverage to your cell phone and other mobile devices. These changes would promise to allow us all unfettered access to a high bandwidth internet, with reliable and transparent speeds guaranteed by law. Is it possible that the consumer has finally come out on top? Open is the new closed when it's The Loop. All right, before we begin, we have to mention that G4's parent company is Comcast, one of the internet service providers that is involved with this news story. But with that said, joining me now from New York to help us make sense of it all, senior writer for CNET.com, Maggie Reardon joins us. How are you, Maggie?
I'm doing well.
Good. Is it like a celebrity death around, like here at E, fire alarms go off and phones stop ringing, like around CNET? Is this like on par with that? Is this like a big day for you guys because of this announcement?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a big deal for my beat, so yeah, I've been covering it all day.
Well, how do consumers actually stand to benefit from the changes that were proposed by the FCC today?
Well, basically, it means that your internet service provider won't be able to monkey with your traffic. So if you want to watch video online or you want to use some other kind of new application that might compete with one of their services, they won't be able to degrade it or block it.
Okay, that sounds incredibly positive, which I get incredibly skeptical about whenever I hear something like that. Who do we have to thank for that? Who do I owe an Olive Garden gift card to? Do I owe it to Obama or?
Well, Genachowski, right? I mean, the FCC chairman, he's the guy who's been spearheading this, and he's really pushing it through. But, you know, Obama has been a big supporter of net neutrality during his campaign, and I think some of his supporters are really pushing him and the administration to do something.
Well, I hope they both enjoy the soup, salad, and breadsticks then, because they deserve it. These FCC plans, what's interesting is that they not only cover the internet at home, which is where, whenever we've talked about it on this show, that was certainly the focus, but they also expand to the wireless spectrum as well. Did that move surprise you at all, that they were trying to tackle that at the same time? You
know, it didn't surprise me just because this new FCC has been looking at wireless a lot more closely, and I think that's the most interesting part of this whole thing is that, you know, with open access on wireless, I mean, that means that you could maybe potentially take any phone on any network or definitely get any application, for example, Google Voice.
Sure, or we could see
any phone.
We could see Skype phones popping up out of nowhere now, right?
Yeah.
Well, how would these laws actually affect the internet service providers themselves? Because I know right now that there's been reported cases of throttling, maybe slowing down a Netflix streaming service if a provider has their own video service. Do they have to stop that immediately? Is there anything in place? How does this mix up their day?
Well, I think that, you know, those issues of throttling and blocking traffic, that hasn't really been widespread. So for the most part, I mean, the internet service providers probably won't have to do anything different. If they are using some kind of network management stuff that's blocking traffic or slowing it down, they're going to have to be transparent about that and explain why they're using that method.
Mm-hmm. Well, some watchdog groups and, of course, certain companies, including Verizon and AT&T, even the Comcast of the world, they're saying that this is just more government regulation of the internet. You know, they tackled the automotive industry. Now they're going after your internets. Are they going to? Should they be allowed to regulate themselves? Is this something that we actually need government intervention on?
Well, I think, yeah, we do. Of course, there's always the risk that regulation has, like, unintended consequences down the road. But I think, you know, we've got to keep these guys honest, and we have to have somebody watching over them. And, you know, the principles that the FCC has had, you know, they haven't been real regulation. You know, they say, the service providers say that's enough, but I mean, you need a little bit of meat to do any kind of enforcement.
Should we, you know, whenever we talk about net neutrality on our show, between the Twitter and the forums, that, you know, our fans and our viewers, they blow up. They want to know what they can do. At this point, can they breathe a sigh of relief, or can something be done to stop this plan from actually going into effect?
Well, yeah, lots of things could happen. Right now, Comcast is suing the FCC over, you know, the slap on the wrist that the FCC gave them for throttling traffic. And so once that decision comes out, I mean, if the FCC loses that legal battle, that's kind of a bad thing for this effort going forward. And also, I think what it probably really needs is legislation to sort of beef up the potential for these regulations, and that's going to be something that probably is spearheaded by the Democrats. Republicans are pretty much opposed to this.
So basically, we're going to hear about it for months, and then something will get completely watered down, and absolutely nothing will happen for the next 4 years? That's the next step for this plan?
Well, I wouldn't even say months. I have a feeling this is going to be at least a year of going back and forth. The FCC has opened a notice of proposed rulemaking, which basically means that anybody and everybody can make comments to try to see how these rules will come out. So, but I think it's going to be voted on strictly on party lines. You know, there are 3 Democrats on the commission and 2 Republicans. The 3 Democrats support the idea, 2 Republicans don't. So it's probably going to pass. But again, it's like, will it get challenged in court? That's the big question.
So Maggie, I'll see you in 12 months when somehow we end up funding a bridge to nowhere in some middle state. It'll be awesome. Thanks for joining us, Maggie from CNET.
Thanks.
Thanks for keeping us in the loop.